Many of you have asked me to talk about Romanian news, and as you probably know, in Eastern Europe, we don't really have identity politics. We focus more on issue politics and corruption. So a lot of people are curious, like, how does the Romanian news look like when the journalists don't talk about racism, sexism, and homophobia all the time? Like, what do they write, especially the sensational press? And the answer is that in a country with a population of roughly 20 million people, there's bound for criminal activity to happen every single day. And that's pretty much what the papers write about. They don't editorialize most of the time. They just say, okay, a young person committed a robbery in this part, and this is what people have said, and this is what happened. That's pretty much how the news is being covered. It kind of creates a feeling of danger, I suppose. Like, my grandmother would always watch these news, and I would call them the bedsheet and the morgue, because all they talked about was rape and murder. And again, in a country with 20 million people, it's almost impossible that you're not going to have crime. Like, every nation around the world has these things happening, and they're not a good thing that they're happening, but the law tries to crack down on it, and people go to prison like in any other society. But if you're constantly bombarded at the news about these things, it made grandma feel unsafe. So it's a very interesting thing, because under communism, these type of news were suppressed because the government wanted to seem in control, and they were more interested in persecuting ideological dissent rather than actual criminals. And in order for people not to get upset about it, they would just not report on the crimes at all, because they controlled the newspapers. So back then, grandmother slept with the door open. Like, literally, she wouldn't lock her house because she felt safe. But there was more crime then than it is now. But now, because the press is reporting on it all the fucking time, now grandma sleeps with the door closed. So, very interesting. But I found this very interesting news article, because usually, as I mentioned, the journalists don't really editorialize. They just say, okay, well, this happened, and this is how many years the criminal got. But in this particular one, I was a little bit interested, because it does seem to have a little bit of editorial. You see, when you read the title, it says that a young man, a young lad, was sentenced to prison and has to pay a huge fine because he stole a bundle of sticks. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, dude, there's no way. I mean, come on, the judges aren't insane. Like, they would not punish someone with prison for just stealing a couple of sticks. And then you read the article and you finally understand what's happening, and you're like, I see. Now, I understand that there is this more progressive Western thought that is starting to come into Eastern Europe. This forward way of thinking, this more enlightened academic way of viewing the world, that property isn't important. You see, human life is more important than property, as if these things can be separated, as if your life wouldn't change at all if all your property was to be taken away from you tomorrow. You would still have the same lifestyle, you would still have the same way, as if you could actually put food on the table if tomorrow you would be homeless. Right? So it's a very interesting way of thought, very socialistic in nature, where private property doesn't matter. And a lot of journalists who are adepts of this way of thought, they genuinely believe that the world will be better if we stop valuing private property. And no, the private property is essential. It is a human right. And you do not get to go onto another man's land in order to chop down his trees. Under no circumstance. And if you do so, you should be punished by the law. Now, the question is the punishment too severe? Do they need to go to prison? Well, apparently it wasn't just a bundle of sticks that they were stealing. They had an entire cart filled all the way up to the brim with the sticks. And I assume this is not the first time they were caught either. Now, because of this, I assume that at the courthouse, they decided that the punishment needs to be with prison time. The problem that I would say is that these gentlemen were allegedly taking the sticks in order to warm their house. Now, I can't verify, okay, but usually at the court, being a person who finished law school and having seen a lot of the cases that take place, the defense is not going to say, yeah, we were stealing it in order to sell it to the highest bidder. No, it's like they are going to say something like, oh yes, it's very compassionate, look how poor the person is, and they were stealing them in order to warm the house. Now, leaving aside the fact that there are many people who do suffer from the cold in Romania and don't resort to stealing wood, the wood stealing industry is quite prominent in my country. It is so prominent that the Netflix team, which wanted to investigate just how much lumber is being stolen in Romania, was attacked by the mafia, which deals with this. And they're very connected to politicians. They're so connected to politicians that when we had the quarantine and people couldn't go to work, wood chopping was still considered to be an essential business. Because you have a lot of Austrian corporations that in Austria, they're very progressive and they're very green and environmental friendly. And then they come to Romania and plunder the wood from here. They do business with the politicians, and the politicians turn a blind eye when people go and steal wood. And it's quite a problem. Like, there's a major deforestation going on. But this is what it means to be green in 2021. This is what it means to protect the environment in 2021. In your nation, you're, oh, no, we love the forests, we love the greenery, oh, we love Mother Gaia. Hey, send some guys over to Romania. Yeah, send them over there. Yeah, start a business over there and chop wood from there. Yeah. Oh, we don't do that here. Oh, no. And it works. Like, there's a lot of younglings, a lot of people who just get 18 and they're going to vote and they want to save the planet. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they're not cutting wood from here. We should protect our forests. And the more environmental a country gets, the more laws and regulations against wood chopping it becomes, then people just outsource. And they go in other places where they don't have the regulations, where the politicians are more corrupt and easier to influence. Because I assume bribing an Austrian politician is a lot more difficult than bribing a Romanian one, if you're a multinational corporation. But, like, that's another conversation. Now, again, the interesting fact is that the people who are stealing wood for the multinationals, they never get caught. And as such, the government still has to show that they're doing something in order to crack down on wood thieves. And when they manage to find an impoverished family that is like, okay, we're going to chop some wood in order to heat ourselves up, and they go on the property of another guy and they chop down his trees, then the government, the full might of the law. Let the hammer of the law descend upon them so we can make an example and show to other people just how justice is being done. So this is what it is to have a corrupt nation. Now, I pay a lot of taxes to the government. A lot of taxes. And yet you're still telling me that there are people that do not have heating? Where the fuck do my taxes go then, huh? Where are they going? Where are they? Another interesting observation. Romania is under a fiscal dictatorship, in all but name. Everything you do has to go through a bank. And I said this before. Any transaction that is above $1,000 has to go to the bank. And I'm using dollars so Americans can understand. All right? So if you want to buy a television, you want to buy a refrigerator, it has to go to the bank. You can't pay with money. It's illegal. Like, I know Americans just can't wrap their mind around it. No. It's illegal for me to go in a store and use money, like cold hard cash, in order to buy something that's more than $1,000. You need to go, like, pay with card. Okay, this is interesting. And then the banks have to, by law, give all their information, all their data to the government. So the government, if they want to, if they like zero in on me, they can see exactly where I went to vacation, what I've bought, what restaurants did I visited, what clothing do I buy. Like, they can know almost everything about my activity just by, like, looking at the banks, the information they get from there, because everything with the card gets wrote down in a database. And yet you're still telling me that with this level of fiscal dictatorship, there's still corruption in the country. With this level of fiscal dictatorship, there's still people that are somehow managing to sell trees they chop down illegally. And the reason that I'm trying to make a point here, is that this is what happens when government reaches for more power in exchange for security. There is no security, and they get all the power. So was it worth it? I mean, well, we were never asked whether or not this is a good thing. It's just like, no, it's being imposed. Not to mention that the banks, if they want to, they can seize your assets. Like if a bank would go bankrupt tomorrow, they can legally, just say, all right, we're seizing the assets from all of our customers. Yeah, so just so you know what's like in Romania, because a lot of people keep asking. I'll probably make these videos if this one gets popular, but hey, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.